Welcome to Self Perfected.
Nice. Now
Mhm.
we can. Now we
Hold on,
can
guys.
really.
Sorry, I shouldn't have told you not to record yet. Hold on, I got a call. Yeah. Okay. All right. Talk later. Hey, sorry about that, guys.
Who's calling you?
A monkey?
Yeah,
The government?
you can only. Yeah, it's the government. They call me on my banana phone.
They're
Nice.
telling you better keep it PC during this 4th of July.
Well, it is 4th of July in a couple days, isn't it?
It
I
is.
guess actually the day that we release the podcast, it'll be.
It
in
will be
terms
4th of
the-
July.
Wow. You know, there's some people who are just like, once Friday hit, they're just like out for 5 days, getting
Oh,
drunk,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
lighting up fireworks.
That was me, like, I don't know. I was going to say 20 years ago, but I would have been 10. So
That
Dang, you
explains a
Dominicans
lot.
party hard.
we do. But no, I didn't get started that early. But that was definitely me college years for sure. I was just like,
Yeah.
all right, it's 4th of July on Friday. So I'm taking off Friday, like
Yeah.
Tuesday is 4th of July. I'm taking off Friday. And then Saturday, Sunday, obviously I have those days off. Monday, they don't expect me to come in. Come on, please. And then Tuesday.
Isn't that so crazy? Because you're just like chasing the energy the whole weekend. And it's like kind of fun for probably 1 hour total. And then you're just dreading going back on July 5th and you're hungover.
That's
And then what do you
mostly-
have to show for it? One
Yeah.
picture,
well, you may have more than one picture.
some stories.
And 4th of July is Independence Day.
Yeah. Yet you're totally dependent on fucking energy.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Like it's funny talking to people who drink, people who don't drink, and just what was it that I was talking to somebody about? But basically being dependent on the energy is like, what are you doing with your life? You're just living for the weekend. That's what I was talking about. You know, in the book, the Conquest of Happiness, people make happiness their purpose. I was seeing somebody comment on one of our friends on Facebook. I don't remember which friend, but some random person
You
was
got a lot of
commenting.
friends.
We have a lot of friends on Facebook, but I don't remember who it was, but some random person was commenting on their post, and it was something about what is your purpose, or I don't know what. Anyway, this person commented, if the external needs to make you happy, then you have a problem. And then there was another comment that was like, and I don't even know if it was the same post, but there's another comment, and this is the one that stuck out to me more, was the purpose. You need to make happiness your purpose, because if not, you're not going to be happy. And I went to look at this person's profile.
You need to make cooking your purpose, guys, because if you don't, you won't cook.
Right. Right. I went to look at their profile, and they're like this law of attraction guru, whatever, right? And I'm looking, and they're like 20 years old.
Ooh.
Hold on. They're like 20 years old, and they're a law of attraction. I was like, okay, listen, there's nothing wrong with being 20 years old and having your thing, right?
I
But
disagree. I think people should skip that age.
Okay, you can be 20, but you definitely can skip that phase of life, the whole law of
There you
attraction.
go.
No, you can't be 20. You got to just go from 19 to 21.
listen,
Quantum
listen,
leap.
What do you think quantum jumping is?
Mm,
um,
I'm actually 31 now, guys.
wow, you are?
Mhm.
I didn't know that. When? Since
you-
when?
What do you think
Quantum
quantum jumping is, Drake?
Ah, okay, all right. I didn't know.
I'm a
I'm
6-year-old
older than you
girl.
now, Drake.
You're a 6-year-old? Is that what you said?
I said I'm
6-year-old
older
girl.
than you. I'm older.
I said
than
I'm a
you.
6-year-old girl.
Oh, you're a 6-year-old girl. Oh, you're really quantum leaping. You're doing the quantum gender leap.
I'm a 6-month-old. I'm quantum crawling.
Oh,
Which I guess a
Wow.
6-month-old probably is not. Well, I don't know.
maybe. Yeah,
Can't remember.
6-month-old.
I
could
can't
crawl.
remember.
6-month-old could crawl. Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah.
Show us, Cameron. Can you please like
What?
move the camera to show us?
Yeah, can you just direct the camera
like-
towards the ground so we can see you just crawl a little bit? Just we want to see this quantum
I'll
crawl.
I'll just simulate it.
Wow.
Man, I gotta tell you, like the other day, we don't have a pool at our place.
Right.
Like we did in our last place, right? We don't have a pool. We have ponds, but we got this little inflatable pool, just like some cheap thing from Walmart or whatever.
Yeah.
And just so you could blow it up and then pour water in it and then the kids can play in it. And like I was in there the other day with them playing and they were pretending to be different animals and I had to guess what they were. And it always goes, and we've done that kind of a game before. It always goes to the point where they're pretty much doing exactly the same thing every time, but just in their imagination, they're imagining so they have to give me clues. Like they'll be swimming and I'll be like, what are you? They're like, I'll give you a clue. I'm a land animal. I'm like, okay. Yeah, but anyways, I just remember Cindy, I thought about it because I remember Cindy like just going like, what am I? And I'm like, give me some clues. She's like, I move really slow. And I'm like, and she's like, I'm a monkey. I'm like, it's funny too. And I don't know if this, I see it more with Cindy. I don't really see it with Max, but I'm sure kids sometimes generally do this, but it's like with Seneca, like she'll be like, guess what I have or something, maybe she has something and she's like, what do I have behind my back? Or what do I have over here? And if you know what it is and you're like, oh, a banana, she'll be like, pretend like you don't know. And then I'll be like, what do you have? She'll be like, a banana. Like, don't you know? Like, it's so funny. Anyways, it's great having kids.
No, that's pretty cute. That's pretty cute.
Yeah.
I'll be joining that club in a month or so, a little bit over a month. Yeah.
You're ready.
Well, just Quantum Leap, you're already there.
Oh,
Yeah, just law of attraction.
There
Like
it
the
is.
I like
16-year-old
this.
law of attraction coach. Did you finish the point of your story?
I'm pretty
Sorry,
sure that was-
20-year-old.
Yeah,
20-year-old.
I'm pretty sure that was it. Don't be 20. That's the point. There you go. For all you 20-year-olds listening to this, stop. Don't. All right, there we go. Let's continue on.
Yeah.
So,
Why'd you bring it up?
Because the person was
happiness
saying
point?
the purpose of you should make happiness your purpose. And like that's so retarded.
But they
That's
said
it.
because if you don't, you won't be happy.
You won't be happy. Right. And I'm
it's like the people
how
who make
many
money their
people-
purpose.
But how
when
many
they still don't
people
have money.
make happiness their purpose and they're not happy?
yeah. Like
So how does making it your purpose have anything to do with whether you're happy?
because they think that if you can just focus on happiness at the exclusion of everything else, you just ignore everything else and anything that makes you unhappy, you don't look at that. You just look for what you can find that would make you happy. Then you'll be happy all the time.
Can I tell you a story?
Yeah, I'd love to hear a story.
Is that okay, guys? Like, I know I don't normally tell stories, but
I like stories. Good.
Yes.
Wait,
well, I was
can
just talking with Katie.
let me get tucked in first. Hang on. Okay, I'm ready.
Wow.
I wanted to go guess what the story is, and then we have to guess what the story.
Yeah, but you have to tell me the story verbatim
Okay.
as your guess.
So you were
No.
talking with Katie, and
Yeah, I was
then
talking with Katie this morning. And I'm trying to remember what we were talking about specifically, but that triggered it. But she was talking to me about some video. She actually made a thing on her Instagram and her Facebook Live about some ad she saw, and I'll get to that in a second. But basically, we were talking about how. Oh yeah, she was watching a video with Max about the forever chemicals that are like in things.
Yeah.
Right, like products and stuff. And I know generally this is a point, but I don't know a lot of the details. But she was telling me about I don't remember the name of the chemical, but there's like something that they put, basically silicone and things like that they put in pretty much every beauty product to make your skin or your hair or whatever feel smooth. So like if you take products and then you feel smooth afterwards, it's probably because it has a lot of silicone in it.
Mm.
Right. And apparently this stuff is very bad for you. Like, and she was making this point about how scientists are like, well, scientists tested it and they said in a certain quantities, it's okay. Right. Up to a certain point. Right. But it's like, yeah, but what if it's in your shampoo and your makeup and your moisturizer and your
Yeah,
hand lotion and your
that's like high fructose corn syrup. right? It's like, yeah, it's safe in this one product that you bought, but like,
Yeah,
okay, but it's in every
if in
fucking
this amount
case.
it's okay, but then you're having it in 20 different things,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Wow.
It's like you can only have this much arsenic, but you have it in your hamburger, your fries, your drink, your peach pie, whatever.
I'll be fine.
Speaking of peaches, man, we went to this blueberry picking place, like a little farm, like about 40 minutes, an hour away with the kids yesterday. And actually Avery's visiting too. So he was with us, and
Cool.
they had peaches, like tons of fresh peaches, and they're the best peaches you ever had. And they had a blueberry field. And basically, initially we were like, well, we're probably not going to pick blueberries because usually it's so hot, they've been picking them and then they just sell them. But the kids really wanted to do it. So we just asked, and she was like, there's still some there. It's just really overpicked, right? So we went out, and it was like, we're just walking through the fields, and we've done this once before somewhere else. And we're just like picking blueberries, and the kids are into it. And like me and Avery are like, oh, look, there's some more. And like, it becomes like so much fun.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like they were full of, but it was like, if you walk down the road, you'd see like a few on each bush still,
Yeah.
and we ended up getting a bunch. And I don't really prefer blueberries. Like, I like blueberry products, like like Katie makes these blueberry crumble
Like when your hand
bars.
lotion has blueberry mixed with the silicone,
That's what he meant
Exactly,
when
I
he said
love
products.
that stuff.
makes
So
you
good.
feel smooth.
Yeah.
But so I like blueberry flavors, right? But typically when you buy blueberries at the store, they just don't taste good
Yeah.
generally, right?
Yeah.
But these ones were freaking amazing. Like, you just take one and it was like, oh my god, like they were so good. And
Cameron
and then we
believes
went-
in God now.
Oh my God. After that one blueberry, he took the blue pill, guys.
and I was like, this is happiness. This is my purpose now.
Damn. Wow. I got to change my purpose.
But they had all those peaches, right? So they make homemade peach ice cream there.
Ooh.
And then
Wow.
so we each got a little thing of peach ice
Whoa.
cream, and we sat, so afterwards, and we sat there eating that peach ice cream in their little table area. And then I was putting fresh blueberries in it, so they're still warm from outside. It was so good, man.
Mm.
So that had nothing to do with anything, but
Can I tell you a story? Yeah.
oh no, but that wasn't the story. The other story was going back to the
Oh.
lotions and all that stuff, right? So like, okay, so you have all these products that have all this silicone and shit, and that's going into the environment. Like, what happens when you wash it? When
Yeah.
you wash your face, when you wash your hair, like, so it's all going into the water, it's all going into the fucking soil, like everything, right? It's like we're constantly saturating the environment with it. And that's not good, because she was saying, like, for example, all the stuff that women use and all these beauty products and hair products and all this stuff, it's like can fuck with your fertility. There's like all kinds of stuff that it can mess with, right?
Wow. That's like, how they find all these like quartz crystals in the ground and they make silicone products out of it, right? It's like maybe from a previous civilization, I was putting all this silicone all over their face, thousands and millions of years ago, and then it just like sat in the ground, and then we found it and we're like, wow, we can make computers with this shit. This is like, so glad that we can find this in the ground, so we're just setting up the next civilization.
Well,
So-
isn't that what the transhumanists want to do? Is like switch us from carbon-based life forms to silicon-based life forms?
well, what else is really, I think I talked about this before, but like
There's a difference between silicon and silicone.
Silicone.
Yes.
What is the difference?
silicon is in your computer, silicone is in your titties.
Not mine.
What actually is the difference?
I have silicon titties.
Oh, sorry. No, that is the difference.
Silicon is like an element. It's like a what's the word I'm looking for? A mineral. I don't know if it's technically called a mineral or not, but it's it's I think it's technically a metal. I don't know. I'm not sure how it's classified. It's very similar to carbon. Like if you look at the periodic table, you've got carbon, and right below it you've got silicon. So they're very similar. They both have 4 valence electrons. So it's like we're carbon based.
We're carbon based.
We're carbon based.
Carmen San Diego.
Silicone.
Carbonara based.
I'm definitely
They're more of a
definite-
silicon Alfredo.
I'm definitely
Okay.
carbonara
They
based.
being computers.
Silicone is produced, it says, by reacting silicon with methyl chloride.
Right. But it's a
Mm.
man-made thing
Yeah,
versus the
yeah, okay.
silicon itself, right? Yeah.
Listen. Those are like just little details. Okay. Like it'll break back down into.
But you're right. I mean, yeah, I guess like the silicone becomes the silicon, which becomes the computers of the future. So we're doing a service to
Let's
humanity.
go.
There you go.
All
So
right.
you know,
Singularity.
what I was thinking, and maybe I said this on the podcast before, but you know, there's like when you look at the names for Egyptian gods and royalty and stuff like that, how it's like it's always specifically, I forget what the term is, but it's like always specifically like this circular thing, and then with like a little line at the
The
bottom.
Ankh.
Yeah, I think it's an Ankh. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's an Ankh. Yeah. So it's always like this circular thing, and then like a
With the
little line
cross at the bottom, and then it's a circle at the top.
I don't.
Yeah,
is it
yeah.
a cross? Is it a cross?
It's like
Okay.
it's basically a
Yeah.
cross, and then but the top just becomes a little oval thing.
Oh no, not that one. Not that one. But I know what you guys are talking about now. I know what you guys are talking about. I'm talking about
What
like
are you talking about?
I'm talking about like there's like a long oval, right, with like inscriptions inside, right, and then it'll have just like a little line at the bottom, like a horizontal line at the bottom, right, and that's usually
What kind
like
of
how they,
advanced Egyptology shit are you doing?
that's usually how they inscribe their names, right, like names
Oh.
of royalty, right. Anyway,
Okay.
what I was getting at is, what if that symbol is just like the same thing as like an at symbol? You know how like we use an at symbol?
Oh, it's like that's their Instagram account.
That's their Instagram account. Like we completely lost all their technology and all that stuff. We've got some parts of their super massive computers. We call them pyramids, right? And then we see like the at symbols inscribed on there. It's like that's like graffiti, actually. It's like someone who's just like, yeah, at your homeboy top. That I think that's what happened there. That's pretty much, I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
well, and hey, I mean, you look at emojis; they're like modern day hieroglyphs.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys.
Now, okay. So you got these pyramids,
Yeah.
right? And then now those pyramids have found their way into modern culture through the thing that we all know and adore.
Pension plans.
Pension plan.
The stock market.
Exactly.
This guy gets
And-
it.
And I don't have my wallet on me. Money
Money.
everywhere. The all-seeing eye.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's like
Yeah.
literally on the back of every
Wait,
fucking
wait.
dollar bill. Isn't that funny?
I have a
And
dollar.
think about it. It says in God we trust. It's like a government thing. And then it's got this pyramid with like an
There
eye
it
at
is.
the top.
There it is. If you're not American, you're missing out. Our money looks way cooler than your money.
Our
Your money
money
looks like Monopoly money compared to our money.
That's right.
And
Our
what does it
money-
say?
Kinda like-
Novo Order Seclorum.
It's kind of creepy.
Does that mean New World Order? Let's
I-
see.
I don't know. But it sounds like that.
I can't read, so
Look it up.
Novo Order Seclorum.
Yeah, what's it mean? And what is Annuit?
A new order of the ages is born.
Okay. What about Annuit Septus? Septus.
What does Inuit?
It's a CO.
Ooh, one of those symbols
Yeah, we don't have
means-
that in English.
means he favors our undertakings.
He favors. Oh,
Anu?
Anu.
Oh,
Anu
favors
favors
Literally
the
says
under-
Anu.
Yeah, that's
It
hilarious.
literally says it on all the money.
Anu favors our undertakings. Wow. You know that's funny.
And he's like literally the eye on top of the pyramid.
yeah.
Like, explain that.
And people
Like,
get so
I'll-
riled up whenever you say like Anu, and they're like, "Oh, it's on your fucking money." God, look at that.
It's literally like in all these words we use. Like you know how okay, I was talking to Jess about this last night. We went out for Mexican food and she was like, how do you say happy birthday in Spanish? I said feliz cumpleaños. And the
Yeah.
word año means year.
Oh yeah,
It's like it's in, I mean, annual annuities.
Anu, like
Anus.
make yourself a new anus. It's in your anus.
You have
Getting fucked- getting
UTT.
fucked in the
You can
ass.
look up anu.
Yeah. I
Hey,
like this.
I have a cool point to look at. Okay.
Okay, let's look at it.
I'm gonna say why. It's like rhetorical, but obviously just to kind of stimulate the conversation. But like, why do we live in a world where everyone is afraid of the government. Like, why do we have a world where we're all afraid? But shouldn't the government be like the servant of everybody?
Yeah.
And like, when if you were in the government, shouldn't you actually be there to serve and to like look at what would be best and everything? But that's not what it is. The government requires everybody to pay money out of what they create, make, whatever, out of their fucking time and life force, and then uses that to like further just control the person and impulse fear and like go to war and put in more laws and restrictions, so you're always afraid of like making a mistake. Like instead of it just being like, hey, like a parent who's like, hey, I'm here to support you. Instead, it's like, I'm going to control you. You have to be afraid of me. And how does that come about? Like, how does that world come about?
Well, what does government even mean? Right?
What does it mean?
To govern the mind or control the mind, right?
Well, yeah, that's what ment means at the end, MENT.
Yeah. And so like, how
Like
does that,
mental?
yeah, like
It's
going-
governing the mental patients.
yeah. Ooh.
It's like when Bernard died in 2013, he said the war, well, not when he died, but before, right before, he said the war for the mind has begun.
Yeah.
Right. And now you see it everywhere, like Alex Jones, all these people like say that.
The
But
war
like,
for the mind.
look at the last what? 8 years, really. I would say it's become really apparent. Because like I think really once Trump started running, it became
yeah.
so obvious to maybe not to everybody, but it started to become obvious to more and more and more people, I think.
That's funny that you bring that up, because I was talking with someone yesterday and we were talking about just basically how we started out talking about the Dominican Republic. This person goes and visits the Dominican Republic pretty often, and they were out like in some countryside, and they said, you know, it's interesting because when you eat the food there, like they were saying, first off, you know, everyone there in their village or whatever is like helping with creating whatever foods that they're all going to eat. And so, you know, some person's like, they got the meat, another person's got the veggies or whatever. They're all coming together, and then they're all preparing the food together. So you see them sitting around all these pots, and there's like 5 people sitting around preparing the food that everybody's going to eat in the village. And he says, and when you eat this food is really delicious. It doesn't really taste the same. Like even the rice there that's grown there doesn't taste the same as the rice here in the States. And he says the sense of filling that you get in your belly is different than like when you're eating food in the States. It's like you don't feel like that overstuffed, bloated, like you gotta go to sleep or whatever. Like it's more just like I'm full, but you still have energy. You still are going throughout your day, right? And then that conversation kind of turned into we started talking about how whenever you go to visit the DR or the Dominican Republic, there's some propaganda that you'll see of like, don't go off the resort and do this, do that, because you're at your own risk essentially. And it's almost like it makes it seem like this is a very scary place to be. And they were saying it's no scarier than if you were to go to some of the worst places in Florida or some of the worst places in, you know, Mississippi. Yeah, exactly. Right. And like, you know, we have that all around the States, but you know, it's almost like they're trying to create this propaganda of like, you got to be afraid of this. You don't go there. And then they started talking about, and this person's like a little bit darker like me, they're Black. And they were like, you know, and it got me thinking about, you know, Republican and Democrat. I voted Democrat my entire life, and something prodded me to look at, you know, assassinations around the world whenever the US has been involved in like an assassination. And he said, I started noticing an overwhelming majority of these assassinations, like Gaddafi, you know, Gaddafi is talking about getting off of the World Bank and not accepting any money from them, and then, you know, giving out money to the people and not being reliant on other countries, et cetera, like that. And then all of a sudden he's assassinated. And he's like, I started looking into all these assassinations, and I realized virtually every time that somebody like that is assassinated, it's when a Democrat is president, you know, and he was like, and that, I just started looking at all these things really differently. And, you know,
With the exception of Abraham Lincoln,
well, he
he was the one assassinated.
he was the one
So,
assassinated. I'm sure
probably
he
by a Democrat.
sure he didn't call the hit on himself, right? And it was actually by a Democrat, right? Because yeah, because it was John Wilkes Booth, right? And then the South was very Democrat heavy. Anyway, but anyway, we were talking about all those things, and he started saying, and this is a person I've known for a very long time, and they've always been the kind of person that's just like, maybe dabble in a little bit of like, aliens could exist, right? But then always bring it back to like, yeah, but I got to go to work in the morning, you know, like I still have to plug into the system. Everything is the same, right? But I was seeing just from the conversations that we were having, like this person is now completely just like questioning everything, questioning like, wait, that doesn't make sense. Why would that be so? And they're an older person too. They're an older person. It's not like they're, you know, just a young person, like in that stage of life where you question things. They're older. They've lived their life. Their life has been pretty decent, I would say, as far as like they have money. They've never had to like want for money or anything like that, or food. They have their own house, those sorts of things. So it's not like they're outside of the system. It's not like they're downtrodden or anything like that. This is somebody who's just like looking around and going, wait a minute. They do have kids, right? But they're going, wait a minute. These things don't add up. These things aren't what they said that they were or what I believed them to be my entire life. They're even questioning, like I brought up the point of, because I wanted to see, okay, how far can I take this with this person? Because I see an in here, right? So I was saying, you know, like how in grocery stores, they throw out so much food, like they fill dumpsters of food. And right around the corner, there's a whole bunch of homeless people, you know, a whole bunch of people starving, begging for food. And that's just in one grocery store that could feed like so many people. And we do this on a regular basis. And now imagine how many grocery stores are in the state or in the country, you know, et cetera. And they asked, why do you think that happens? And they were kind of asking like rhetorically, but they wanted to see my answer, right? And I said, well, when it all comes down to it,
I think homeless people are just really picky.
That's what I said. That's exactly what I said. I said, you know, when it comes down to it, obviously it's a point of like, you can't make profit if you give away the food, right? And I started, sometimes what I like to do is I'm like, listen, let's go back a little bit and then forward, right?
But I think it's well, maybe you're going to get to it.
Well, what I said was like, okay, if you were to give away food to homeless people, right? You might say, oh, well, if they get sick, they can sue us and that would be bad, whatever, right? And sure, that may be the case, right? But at the end of the day, what it really boils down to and distills down to is if you give away food, if you make it available, even if you're just going to throw it away, then what would be the impetus to say, oh, I'm going to go buy this food? You don't need to buy the food.
Why would you say like this person can have it for free, but this person has to buy it?
Right.
Because then when,
right.
Yeah.
And it was cool because like, to me, that's like a lot of people will defend that point for whatever reason, but
because then it goes to the point of, well, then you should just do it for free.
Right.
But then there wouldn't be a grocery store because that's not how our world works.
Right. Right.
So then the people who run the grocery store would become homeless.
Right.
Which also obviously keeping it the way it is doesn't solve any problems either. Right.
But it's this, like, I guess you could call it like a catch-22 or whatever. But there's this like, okay, I have food and you need food. You're starving, but I'm not going to give it to you because if I give it to you, then you won't buy the food and then I won't have money and then I won't have food, or at least money for food. So I can't give you the food that I have, which I definitely have enough food for me to eat, but I can't give you the extra food, I'm going to throw it away instead. I'm not going to eat it. You can't eat it. I'm going to throw it away unless you buy it, and you can't buy it. So yeah, I can't give this to you. Sorry. Because then otherwise I can't eat, which is like, it's like, okay, wait a minute.
Dude, yeah, it's totally fucked.
Right. But if we made sure that every single person had food, then we wouldn't play that game. There would be no point to, like, there wouldn't be like, oh, sorry, you got to starve. Otherwise I starve. Like, no, like the starting point has to change, obviously. Right. And so they were like 100% on board. Like they were telling me before I could get it out, they were telling me exactly that point. And I'm like, okay, great. So what that tells me is this person, like I said, very mainstream, very much just like, you know, maybe questions a little bit things here or there, but always would come back to, I'm in the system, right? And now they're very open, very questioning of, okay, what the fuck is going on? And that tells me sort of like the collective consciousness right now is open. It's the war for the mind has made it so that everybody's like, okay, this doesn't work anymore. New solution. What is it? Let's see it. Which is obviously where we come in.
So
Right?
so then the war point is like how fear will be used. You know what I mean? To continue people not standing up within themselves. And if you can keep people in fear and in doubt, then you can maintain control, at least temporarily.
That's the only way,
Right?
though.
But by doing that, we continue to maintain a society where people are not taking responsibility. So it continues to create more problems because the system as it is not sustainable. Like it's over. It's like, oh, I remember one time we rented a wood chipper and it was this big thing, man. It's like freaking loud as hell. And you turn it on. When you turn it off, it still keeps running for a long time because it has this flywheel in it that's like spinning.
Mhm.
And it's like for a long time, like, 15 minutes, I don't know exactly. It like is still like winding down.
I used to have a car like that. You turn it off, and then for like an hour later, you'd
like
still
still
hear
doing something.
it's.
Yeah.
I remember somebody coming out of their house and we're like, "Your car is on," and I'm like, "It's off. It's just the engine has this cooling fan, and it doesn't turn off
Yeah.
until it's cool." Yeah. Anyway.
Some of the ATVs do that too, I think, where it's like you still hear them spinning or something. I don't know how that works, but
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just like that. It's like the system is winding down.
Mm.
And then so because of that, it's like this desperate attempt to try to keep everybody from rising up, because the rising up would be, if it's not directed within the person, it's just a point of fear. It's just like a violent type of thing, which is not a solution, and like, even if you think about it in history, all of the violent revolutions, they were actually a part of the system. It was actually like the system in that place upgrading in some way. You know what I mean? Like the revolution in China, it wasn't just the people randomly rose up.
Mm.
It was like somebody stood up and started directing them to do that.
Right.
So how would you
Right.
equate that then within like how America was founded?
Well,
Have you ever been to America, Mitchell? I'm
Apparently
just,
I'm here.
just
I
curious.
don't know.
Oh, okay. All right. That's
Um,
what you think.
so do you mean like, is it the same or what? How do I see it
Well, like
differently?
I know obviously America is still within the system, and in 1770 or whatever when it started, it was like a new form of the system. It was a form of the system upgrading because it was
Yeah.
apparently the first time that like a middle class came to be, and it was more of a rise of the entrepreneurs and the business people instead of just aristocracy running the show.
But
Right.
what's fascinating about this though is I'm just looking at it. It's like the American Revolution was a group of people who were all a part of the elite who were like, this structure isn't best. Like the people who are over here are just abusing the point, and we have to now stand up against that. Versus like, if you look at like the revolution in China, where it's like they're both violent. Like, what can I say? Like there's still violence, there's still war, there's still all of those points. But when you look at the principles, I think that in the American point, the principles that were what it was based upon were much more sound than
Mhm.
the China point. Because if you look at but at the same time, it's almost like trying to defend the idea of the American Revolution being better.
Yeah.
But if you look at the difference of what the opportunity that it created, it's cool, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't founded on real best for all
Yeah.
principles. I mean, look, the is it the Declaration, which is the one that says like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, whichever one it is, right?
Declaration of Independence.
Declaration of Independence, right? Life, we have a right to life, we have a right to liberty, and we have a right to the pursuit of happiness. But even back then, happiness didn't really mean what we think it means now. Like
Right.
back then, there was, and people might be like, well, how do you know that? And it's like back then, it's like consumerism wasn't a thing back then.
Yeah.
So when we talk about happiness, how much of that is actually just consumerism?
99% of it.
At least, right?
Yeah.
So back then they meant something different. And originally, as far as I understand, it said life, liberty, and the pursuit of property. Right. And even the pursuit word didn't necessarily mean pursuing in the same sense. It meant pursuit in the sense of like, it's your occupation, it's your endeavor. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
oh, that's my pursuit. Like I'm doing this activity. It's more like your occupation, the thing that you're doing, you're dedicating yourself to, rather than a pursuing it, trying to get it, right? But when I'm looking at these points of, because it's obviously like we're talking about 4th of July, when I'm looking at these points of independence, freedom, when people talk about celebrating their independence or celebrating freedom, it's like, what do those words mean? Can you guys look those up?
Yeah.
Maybe
Mhm.
look it up in your TT, because I did that this morning just to like refresh myself.
Yeah. So independence first or freedom first?
Either one, yeah, whatever.
So independence is freedom from control or influence of another or others.
Right. That's the relevant definition.
Yeah, that's the
right?
relevant definition. And then
And obviously it's referring to American independence as, yeah.
yeah, and then freedom is the condition of being free, the power to act or speak or think without externally imposed restraints. And then the second definition is immunity from an obligation or duty.
Right. So like you're free from that obligation or whatever, right?
Right.
So if you look at that first definition of independence, it's this point of not being under the what was it? Oh, you put it there.
That's from freedom.
That's freedom.
And then for independence, it's freedom from control or influence of another.
Right.
Or
freedom from control or influence of another or others, right?
Right.
So it's interesting because we're not independent.
No.
I mean, not from influence of other people, because your total environment influences you all the time. Like if you're like, no, I'm independent, I have total absolute independence, well, but you can't drive down the road.
Yeah.
Because, and even if you were like, well, I'm going to choose to follow those rules, I'm choosing to, that's fine, but they're still influencing you. Like the way they paint the road is influencing you to drive on that side. Because you can say, well, it's common sense, the cars are coming on the other side. Well, but why are they coming on this side? Because those lines influence them to come that way. And you went to driving school and you learned to do certain rules. So we're all constantly influenced from a very young age by our environment.
You could even say like the car is driving on the other side, that's influencing you to drive on this side,
Right.
Like, okay.
Right. And so we tend to react to these points like, I don't want to be controlled, I don't want to be influenced. Right. But and I think we can't avoid being influenced, but then we look at the word control in that. And it's like freedom from control of others. We want to not have other people control us. Right.
Yeah. And yet
what?
We have a government.
Right. But in a government, which the starting point of it is to control everything,
Yeah.
right? And it's not that we should be controlled by other people. It's just we have created a world where that is the case, right? And I was looking at that point of freedom also, the power to act or speak or think without externally imposed restraints, right? And I was really looking at this point of, because you're talking about the war for the mind, right? The biggest, most prevalent point within everybody, because okay, here's my point. It's that externally imposed restraints point.
Mhm.
We're like, if we're just not controlled by others, we're not controlled externally, then we're free. Okay, but do we have a mind?
Yes.
Okay. And does our mind constantly influence us and
Yes.
constantly control us? And then the pursuit of happiness, right? Like, remember the 20-year-old law of attraction guru? You have to have happiness as your purpose or you won't be happy. That's just the mind going, give me energy.
Right.
And so we're constantly in this cycle of negative, positive, negative, positive. For example, going back to the beauty products, I want my skin to feel smooth. It's like, well, why? Why does it need to be smooth? I'm not saying it's bad for it to be smooth, but if we're going to go, like, imagine, I want my skin to be smooth. Like, what do you think are some of the reasons why a woman would want smooth skin?
Make themselves more attractive.
I mean, I would assume that's essentially it, right? Like,
Yeah.
they could try to lie and cover it up and be like, oh no, it's like whatever. But why do women wear makeup?
Same exact thing.
There's no fucking it's all bullshit when they're like, I do it for me. Like, have you ever worn makeup?
Yes, I have actually.
Like, the couple times we've been on TV, they you're in this room and they put makeup on you and all this, do your hair or whatever, if it needed, but they put makeup on you and it's like to reduce like the shine of the lights from the cameras. That's like a whole thing, right? So all these people on there, my point was, when you have that stuff on your face, it's like suffocating. It feels like it's like a weird oppressive feeling.
Yeah.
And women are going around every day with that. And one of the things, I mean, I appreciate many
No
things.
wonder women feel like they're oppressed.
Well, and it's the
Self-oppression.
patriarchy, right? One of the things I appreciate about Katie is that she doesn't wear makeup.
Yeah.
Like, she has in the past from time to time, like at an event or something, but even this last event we went to, she didn't at all. And like, it doesn't bother me at all. Like, if we're just looking at it in terms of a way of like a preference of seeing a certain image, like, I prefer her not wearing it.
Yeah.
And so, okay, so then let's just say she was like, well, I want to still wear makeup for me. Like, what is the part about it for you? It's like I'm not interested in what a man thinks about me. I just wear makeup for me. It's like, so what? So I can look beautiful?
Which is, what's the point of that?
For what's the standard of that? Because couldn't you just not wear makeup
Yeah.
and it would still be for you?
Yeah. Are you saying you're not beautiful if you don't wear, if you
Right. So it's like, actually, are you not just are you rejecting yourself?
Yeah.
It's like, I embrace myself. I am who I am. And I wear makeup for myself. So I am, like, I wear this sexy outfit for myself. And it's like, but if no one influenced you to wear stuff like that, would you?
Right. Obviously not.
Like, obviously not. Like, and so there's no self-honesty there about like the real reasoning behind it. And the point I'm getting at is, okay, so we put these products on our face to make us look smooth because we have a desire to in some way be attractive. And there's probably self-judgment there and so forth. So the first person that comes along who's like, hey, I can make your skin real smooth. You're like, fine, give it to me. And then you do it, and then everyone's doing it. And then that, just even that one little point of making your skin smooth, now all these forever plastics are in the fucking environment, like fucking with everybody.
Yeah.
So, and that's just like one little point of the mind influencing the person with a feeling of, really, it's fear, because it's like, if I don't have this, I won't have smooth skin. It's not actually, I'm doing it for myself to empower myself. It's a fear, right? Another example, when I was younger, I had this image in my mind of what it meant to like have a hot girlfriend,
Yeah.
and I had to have that. And it was because I didn't, when I had that, I felt like I was worth something.
Right.
I think it's the same thing why guys want like Ferraris and stuff, generally speaking, or Lamborghinis. Probably people prefer Lamborghinis nowadays, right? It's like the thing, right?
I suppose. I don't know. When I was coming up, Ferrari was it.
Yeah. But now I think it's like Lamborghini, right? So, but anyways, my point is they want that because it's like, if I have it, then I'm valuable. I'm worth something. Lamburger. Yeah, I almost said Lamburger. I
That's
think that's the type of cheese, isn't it?
Lamburger, is it? I don't know.
That's Limburger.
The Limburger. There you go.
Lamburger is when you eat a burger made out of a lamb.
Or when you're driving in your Lamburger, yeah, it's the French way to say it. Lamburger. Yeah.
If you make pasta with lamb, it's Lamborghini.
There you go. There you go. See?
With ground lamb, yeah.
That sounds good. I also haven't eaten breakfast.
I was just looking at this point because it's like what I'm really getting to is if you look at the process that we're walking and we're sharing with people, it is the process, and it's the only process to free yourself from the influence of your mind.
Isn't that funny? Because there will be so many people who are like, yeah, I stand for freedom and I'm all about freedom. But then when it comes to actually fucking taking the responsibility and doing the real process, not always, but still right now, there are people who resist it because they would rather just bitch and complain about it.
And I agree. And you're right. It just means we have to get better at communicating it and sharing it, because it's easy because you're walking a process. It's like you're still like, okay, you started, now you're here, right? You're not there yet. So you're still here. So then there's still points that we're accepting of our mind. And then because of that, we are not really fully sharing in the best way yet. You see what I mean? It's like still there's a holding back, there's a fear, there's a whatever, and so it's not about, well, I have to get perfect first before I can share effectively. It's like, no, you just have to look at, okay, God, I just don't understand these idiots. All they care about is like their self-interest. It's like, okay, hold on. I'm reacting to that. I'm in fear of that. I'm frustrated. I'm blaming them. Okay. Now, because that person, like you were saying, is like, oh, I'm all about freedom and all this stuff. Like the government shouldn't control us and all this stuff. So they're back here doing all the things of projection, blame, and so forth on the government. Right. And when you stay there, that's what leads to the violence and all this stuff. Because you're projecting the blame onto the government, onto the system, not looking at it as the system is a reflection of we're accepting internally. Like the government literally means mind control, to influence, direct, steer the mind, right? Like we talked about. And if you're like, well, I don't want someone to control my mind, so I don't think there should be government or something like that, or we should change the government or something like that. Well, but are you directing your mind? It's like, think about the government more as like, okay, there's all these people who allow their minds to direct them. So we have to direct their minds.
Yeah.
Because we can't just speak comments. And I'm not saying if today everyone changed that was not in the government, suddenly the government people would be like, oh, finally, okay, now we can do with the, no, like they're in the same point as everybody else who's not in the government. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why it's everybody 1+1 has to change and stop accepting the mind as the authority over us. And when you study the destiny process, you listen to Equoff, it explains that prior to a certain point, the mind was not unified with the being. So you have yourself, your being, who you are as a being. You have your body, and then you have your mind, and that should be obvious to everybody. That's not a, whoa, I don't know if I believe that. It's like, how can you, that'd be like if I have a car and I'm like, well, I have tires and it has a roof and it has a steering wheel, and you're like, well, I don't know if it's a steering wheel. It's like, it has a steering wheel, right? And people go like, well, but I believe I have a soul. And it's like, for that point, I would really suggest that you study destiny, because it will put that word soul into context to understand what it really is. Right. So I'm not going to go there yet, because it's just like, you have to study that point. But you could, in a way, think that being and soul kind of mean the same thing. It's just, even within the point of a soul, if you think about it, it's still like a thing separate from you, in a way, where it's like my soul. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying my being. No, it's like, I am the being.
Yeah.
It's not like I have a being. Like, I am the being.
Yeah.
You know, I have a body, but I am also my body. You see, I have it. I mean, if you say I have it, what does that even mean? Like, I could just take it off right now? And I can't do that and exist in this context.
Yeah.
Right. Same thing with the mind. If I'm like, well, I have a mind, but it's not me. It's like, okay, so I just take it off. Like, leave it, just lose it. Like, no, you wouldn't be able to function. You wouldn't be able to see, you wouldn't be able to hear, you wouldn't be able to taste, you wouldn't be able to think, you wouldn't be able to make decisions. Like, so it's all three different things that are different components of who you are in the context of being a human being. Okay. The mind part, though, we've allowed a system that knows how to program the mind through words in a way where the mind is constantly looking for positive energy and trying to avoid negative energy, or looking for negative energy. It's really just looking for energy. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't distinguish between positive and negative. You know, like, it's just the energy point. You have to go negative. You have to go positive. You can't only be one, because then it stops. So you have to go back to the other. So if you're looking for happiness, you have to go through sadness. And people will justify sadness because without it, you won't have happiness.
Right.
But then when they're sad, they don't want to be sad.
Right.
And when they're happy, they don't want to be sad.
Right.
So it doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, oh, but I'm so happy right now. I'm like, yeah, but you should be sad right now. What? Yeah, because then you could be happier later.
Yeah.
No one fucking actually thinks like that.
Right. Why don't you just
It's
throw
just
out
like,
that sadness so you can be happy, much happier later, you know? It's funny, because I was looking at that point of what you were saying as far as like just the point of the being and the soul. It reminded me of, there was this guy that I saw on one of these cruises, and like one of these seminar cruises, right? And he was like, he would do this every time. He'd be like, okay, everybody point to the ceiling. And everybody would point to the ceiling. And I'll point to the ground. And everybody would point to the ground. Point to your neighbor. And they'd point to like whoever was sitting next to them. And he's like, now point to yourself. And virtually everybody in the room would be like pointing like this, right? He's like, okay, now how many of you are pointing at your knee? And everybody would laugh. He's like, yeah, no, that's not where you think you are, right? Now, how many of you are pointing at your head though? And then like that would be like very, very few people would actually be pointing at their head. Most people would be pointing to themselves in their chest, right? And it's like, isn't that interesting? Like when you look at yourself, this is where you believe you're housed, like here, right? And he would go on to say all these other things about like your soul or whatever. But
well, how does that prove there's a soul? Anyways, go ahead.
it doesn't. It is just a fun little exercise that he would do, right? But I remember his talk being really emotionally moving in this way. And it got you to really like, yeah, I am well, with his vocabulary, he was just like the soul, you're the soul, right? And it's funny because I think most people interchange, they might think of the being as the soul or whatever. That's certainly where I was before. And then studying through the Destiny material, I'm like, oh wow, I really had no clue what the soul was. Like even my own, even if I were to define it back then, it was just made up stuff that I just like, okay. Here's the conversation that I was having yesterday. This person was saying like, you know, when you're coming up in this world, it's like there's all these assumptions that we have of what is well, in this context, he was talking about a Democrat. What is a Republican? What is this or that? Like, what does it mean to be a man or a father or, you know, a brother or sister or mother? Or, you know, what does it mean to be those things? And ultimately, no one has that understanding. No one sits there and actually explains to you, like, okay, this is what a father is and what a father does, and what it means to be a father in the best context, in the best, like, you know, looking at the world and the consideration of your impact of what you're going to have on the people around you, the things, the plants, the animals, all of it. And no one sits there and actually goes through that with you. And so what ends up happening is you make an assumption of what does it mean to be a father, or what does it mean to be a man or a boy or whatever. And there's all these assumptions. And then this is how we have the gender is a social construct. And it because deep down we know we're just assuming. No one's actually ever been explained these things. And so you're just kind of piecing it together based on what you see in your environment. Right.
There's so many ways in which we have different definitions of it because it wasn't clearly defined, and therefore we're led to believe it's a social construct.
Right.
Like being being a father is a social construct.
Right.
But it's not. Like, there is aspects that we've allowed that, like you said, but also it is a physical thing that is a real relationship of a man to children.
And it can be really clearly defined in the best way. And that's really what we need to do, right? And that's what we're supporting our own community and our own children and, you know, all of that with. But this same point is what I experienced with the soul. It was just a bunch of assumptions based on what I heard in religion, what I heard from spiritual people, what I heard from other religions, what I heard from other people who are agnostic or not spiritual or whatever, what have you. And and then seeing, well, I am here, but how did I get here? Where did I come from? And then people die. And, you know,
isn't it the same with the word love?
It is the same with the word love. It is.
You just hear 100%. It by someone saying, I love you first.
Right.
I love this. I love that. I love
or the
you.
word
no
perfect.
Yeah. No, it's not clearly defined first. This is what our whole approach is. Like, let's give the child the word with the clear definition.
Yeah.
And not just give it to them in the context where it's like there's assumptions being made about it. Right. Because then those assumptions become the conflicts later between people. That's really what it comes down to. And so this whole point about the word freedom, that's kind of why I brought it up, because it's like the words freedom and independence. It's Independence Day, Canada Day. They just had one in Canada. It's like July 1st.
Okay, but that's not actual independence.
I know it's not independence, but they still treat it the same way as we treat July 4th.
They do treat it that way. And I'm like, you guys are retarded. You're not independent. What are you independent from? Like, you're
neither
still
are Americans.
That's true. But at least we had a whole like revolution and everything. And like,
at least so we can pretend like we're free.
We can pretend at least, you know, like you guys, you can't even pretend this game. You guys didn't do, this is like, if we were playing mommy and daddy in house, right? And then like you just came in and just like jumped into the game and you're like, and then you didn't even pick a character. You're just like pretending to be something. And like, you can't pretend. You can't play house with us because you didn't pick a character yet. Okay. So go back, go pick your character and then come back. Okay, Canada? Rant over. Yeah.
You're like, I'm the dad. Canada's like, I'm a dad too. You're like, dude, you can't have two dads in here. They're like, oh yeah, we can. Like, fuck Canada, man. Hey, do you ready for me to blow your minds?
I'd love if you blew my mind. That'd be great.
Let's hear it.
All right. Now I was talking with Avery the other day, and he made his really cool point. He was like, because we were kind of talking about some similar points, right? And it's like everybody's blaming Biden right now, right? Like, what's the number one thing when somebody complains about Biden that they complain about or they'd say or whatever?
He's an old
Old.
man. He's not in power. He's like he falls up the stairs. He falls down the stage.
Yeah.
He's an old
He's
bumbling
like
fool.
basically like kind of senile. He's not a fool. He's just like senile,
Okay, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
decrepit, like
Yeah.
mentally like not all there, right?
right.
And Avery's making this point about like how the president reflects the people. It's like, and it's not just a mystical thing. It's like, why is he in that position? Because collectively we have allowed it. Whether you think the election was legit or not, it doesn't matter, because at the end of
It
the
still
day,
happens.
everybody went along with it. No one really did anything about it. Like no one really stood up. Like regardless of what you think about all that January 6th stuff, it's irrelevant because we've all accepted it. Okay.
Right.
Which shows you the power of systems, right? Doesn't mean that the system is all powerful, because we still are accepting it and we're participating in it, but it shows you that that's the power of the system, right? All we have to do is accept it and it happens, right? But anyways, the point is like, what are the reading levels like in our country right now?
Oh man.
Some of
Did
the
you guys
worst
hear that
I've ever been.
statistic about black boys in California?
No,
No.
tell me. I want to hear it.
Can we look it up?
Can you send it to me?
I don't have it. I just had heard it, so I want to check it. Reading levels, black boys, California. I'm just see if there was a. So here we go.
Gaitan says a lot of people in Benin believe that they
Huh.
can literally quit their body, go into a bird's body, and travel with it.
What happens to their body? They just like on the side of the road, laying there.
You know, that
Christine-
reminds me of some fucking like other land shit, you know?
Yeah, Christine says Drake's just like, as long as we're not part of the British monarchy, that's a huge win. Nice.
So you can be
Um,
under fucking Justin Trudeau.
What?
Just
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like, oh, at least we're not.
It's like
a
you're still
part
under the British monarchy. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, 75% of Black California boys don't meet state reading standards. Damn.
Wow. Wait. 75%.
But you know what?
That's just one.
Okay, but that's not that far off from the national reading standard. You know, national reading standard is like 66%, basically, right?
66% of kids can't read effectively at the level they're even supposed to be at, which is fucking low. Like,
Which is so low. Yeah.
okay, keep me on track, guys. Keep me on track. I'm like
Okay,
Alex
okay.
Jones right now. Okay, I got like a million things going on in my mind. You know, like it's not how my mind works. You know, it's like no.
Hang on, wait. I just want to show you this because I was going through my money. You know how it has like these like little letters,
Yeah.
right?
So
So
it's
it's,
something to do with the Federal Reserve branch.
yeah, whatever. But my money, look at this. FAK. That's
I thought you were
fat.
gonna put a G.
Ah, I should have done that. Damn it. Wait, do I have a G?
Then you'll be feeling so clean like a money machine.
There we go.
Wow.
All right. Your money's trying to tell you something, okay, guys?
Your money's trying to tell you something.
Yeah, okay. All right. So let's stay on track here. All right. 75% of black
Gotta
boys.
keep me on track, okay?
Could not even read what you just held your money up to
That's
say.
right. That's right.
The fuck were we talking about?
We were talking about
You were saying how you're gonna. It was gonna.
no, the
blow our minds
president.
'cause
The president.
No, that's too far back, guys. Come on.
The president? No, it's too
They
Hang
gotta
on.
be here.
When is our mind gonna get blown? Was it
Wait.
supposed to have been blown?
No, wait.
Partially, yeah.
Partial blown. Okay.
Wait.
No, but I'm making the
Half
connections.
blow.
So can we just go back to Obama
You
then?
got the,
Because
you
like
got the blue brains right now.
blue ball brains.
Blue brains.
Blue brains. Okay.
Hold on. Okay, so okay. Alex Jones. All right. I think I was talking with somebody on the phone. I came inside last night. It was like getting close to bedtime.
Yeah.
Avery's staying at our place. The kids are over there on the couch with him, and they're reading with him. And he's reading with Seneca. right? And he's like, it's just so funny because like Seneca's reading, I don't have anything. She was reading Ozma of Oz. Right?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find an excerpt from that.
Okay.
Ozma of Oz excerpt.
I just imagine when you said, Avery's in the couch reading with the kids. They're reading Hop on Pop, and it's just hopping on Avery.
I like that shirt or the shirt. I like that book.
Yeah, right.
I like reading that. Here, I gave you the link if you want to share it.
Okay. Of which one? The Oz? Okay.
Yeah, that one I give you.
The Tin Woodman of Oz. I'm gonna put this in the chat.
All right. Like maybe you can share it on the screen or whatever.
Oh, okay. Well, you can share it on the screen. You have those capabilities.
True.
Wow, this is definitely not third grade reading level.
Okay, nice.
All right. In her magnificent palace in the Emerald City, the beautiful girl ruler of all the wonderful land of Oz sat in her dainty boudoir with her friend Princess Dorothy beside her. Ozma was studying a roll of manuscript which she had taken from the royal library, while Dorothy worked at her embroidery and at times stopped to pat a shaggy little black dog that lay at her feet. The little dog's name was Toto, and he was Dorothy's faithful companion. And like Seneca's reading this book out loud to Avery.
I love it.
It's amazing.
And
Right.
and for the record, how old is Seneca?
4.5.
4.5.
All right. She's not even 5 yet. She would not even be in kindergarten if she were a school child. Right.
Yeah.
Now ask me, why the fuck would she go to school?
Why the fuck would she go to school?
Exactly. Right. And then you look at what Max reads, it's like he wrote a letter yesterday to this electronics company because he designed his own circuits, because they make these little circuits for kids, right? That are like in they're actual components. We talked about it before. They're actual components that are just housed in a plastic casing that you can snap together.
Yeah.
Can make the connections. So it's just safer because you don't have to solder. But they're actual electronics. And he like came up with some ideas for new ones. And he's like, I wonder if I told them my ideas, they might make them and give me some. He's like, they don't even have to give me money. They could just give me some of the circuits. And I was like, well, I said, that's cool, Max. You know, what you should do though, is like draw them and send it to them. And, but you'd have to explain if you just send them a picture, they're not going to have any context of why you're sending it. So write a letter. So he had drawn, actually, I just remember. Hold on a second.
Max unleashed even more.
Check this out.
Learned he can write letters. Look out, world.
Everyone's getting a
Coming
letter.
to a mailbox near you.
He had already drawn these.
Oh wow.
Right. And so he's got U25 because they have this classification system that the company uses. So he's making up his own because he knows that stops at whatever, 24, I guess. Voltage splitter. Look, he's got positive in, negative out, negative, negative, negative. Right here, he's got over here in, out, music maker or something, I think. That's U26, U27, pressure meter.
Okay.
And this is something to do with voltage. I don't know exactly what it is. I didn't ask him like, what is it? Either maybe it measures voltage. I'm not sure.
U28.
Regulates it. Yeah, exactly. Right. So anyways, so right when I took this picture, he was making the last point on this side because he wrote at the top. I just didn't take a picture of it. He wrote from Max Cope, age 7. Or 7 years old or something on the top of this. But then check this out. So here's the other side.
But he's not even 7 yet.
Or why'd I say 7? He's 6. I meant 6. I don't know why I said 7.
He's in that quantum leap thing.
he's doing a quantum.
I'm quantum leaping. Look, so I just said, hey, if you write him a letter, so he just flipped it over. I didn't tell him what to write. I just said, but you got to give him context. If you're not clear with them, they were not going to understand what you're trying to get across. Like, can't just imagine they understand what you're saying. So he wrote, so this is the beginning of the letter. So if you can see, I have made plans for 4 ICs. That means integrated circuits. So I thought you could make the ICs that I have designed. And it says, let me see if I can, because I took multiple pictures. Let me see if I can see what the rest of it says. Hold on.
That's pretty cool.
Let me just edit this one real quick because it's upside down.
Okay.
It says, I'll just read it to you. It says, okay, so I thought you could make the ICs that I have designed. The ICs that well, you can, I can't really read because it's like hands covering or something. So I'm not really sure what he was writing. Something like, well, you can connect them or I don't know. Anyways, I couldn't read the rest of the letter, but the point is he's like trying to explain to them what he's doing, right?
Yeah.
So look at that. He wrote all that himself. He did not ask me like, how do you spell this? Or what should I say next? Or like all of these are, look, he even wrote PLA and then wrote S and then realized he forgot the N and wrote the N in right there. I did not
Yeah.
tell him that. I'm just seeing it for the first time. Right?
Yeah.
Look, he wrote the word thought, THOUGHT. The word could. See, his U's look very close to O's, but you can see the little
Yeah.
space there. You could. COULD. Right? There's no spelling mistakes. Even this one, YOU, is just the U is like very, you see how he makes them like very connected like that?
Yeah.
Right? Look at that. He even wrote design, DESIGNED. Just can't see the D.
That's funny. You can see he starts his O on the left, but he starts the U from the top. I was just looking at the YOU.
Yeah. A lot of the letters he draws from the bottom up.
Yeah.
Not always. I like you can see that with this O, like you said. I think with the S the same. You see how it trails off there.
Yeah.
So it looks like the hard mark is here, and then it trails off there.
Yeah. Interesting.
Because he taught himself how to write.
Right.
Like when I say taught himself, he just started writing letters and started writing words.
Yeah.
You know, like I mean, he's seen us write, but it's when you have the techno tutor and the words are in there, it's just a whole nother level. Like
Right.
it's not something that anyone can is anytime soon gonna really understand, other than that it fucking works. And I'm just showing you guys again, right? So you've got Seneca 4.5, Max is 6.5. He's writing his own letters, designing his own little things, like, and he's having the idea of like, oh, I could send it to this company and they could do this, right? He's coming to me with that. All I suggested was if you want them to understand what you're doing, make sure you are clear by writing a letter. I didn't say what to put in the letter. I didn't say, and he's not asking me how to spell any of these words. That's all within him, coming from him.
That's super cool.
Right? I want to share one more thing real quick. You guys have seen this already.
Oh yeah, this.
Oh wait, I don't know if I shared the audio. Let me restart the share.
Dude, this is so cool. I've been sharing this with people, and I'm like, this is so cool. Just so you know. Oh, okay, there it goes. It works.
What?
Whenever you optimize for a video, like it makes everything else
it
blurry, except for the video itself.
Before I do it, I'm gonna find one more thing real quick. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Give me 1 second.
Funny, like this is really depth of vision. Like, I mean, like it's becoming less and less needed to have the depth of vision because, like, early on, right when it was like Max was 2 and he was recognizing letters or whatever, it's like that. When you can see it and you understand, it's like, okay, this kid's going to be advanced. Now it's just becoming more and more obvious. And then at some point, I mean, like even when he would do logic puzzles with me and start doing math that I haven't ever learned, like, okay, he has surpassed me in certain areas. That's really cool. And in the next 2 years, I mean,
Alex Weitzel in the chat said, have him write one to Biden. And then Aaliyah said Biden wouldn't be able to read it.
Well, that's kind of getting to my point. I'm just trying to find something.
wow.
Trying to find. One more second, guys.
One more.
I'm basically trying to find a video. Oh, here we go. Okay, that'll work.
I've got a video. I've got a video I can queue up.
Oh, the one with you?
No, not the one with me.
Oh, what
But-
what are you looking for?
It's a video with you and you and Max at 2. But like when he first started, you know what I'm talking about?
Doing what?
Were you like writing on a piece of paper, you know? Let me just here. I've got it. And just forgot my own Instagram name. Okay. Whenever you're ready, I've got the video as well.
I'm gonna let you play yours first because the other
Okay.
one is even beyond that, right?
Okay.
Okay. So for context, I guess this is a video of me writing words for Max and
Yeah.
when he's how old?
He just turned 2.
Just turned 2. Okay.
Yeah. So let me just share this. Share screen, optimize for video clip. Boom. Boom. Okay. Remember this?
No.
No? Okay, well, here we go.
Tell me what they are? Okay. What about this word? What is that? Okay. What is that word? That is a word. What is it? What? Leave it there? Do you know what that word is? What is it?
Stop.
That's right. What is
And I think
that word? Okay.
that was it. That's the video.
Okay. Let me because you notice what it said. Remember Max from 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
Well, I put that there.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying, like, why did it say that?
Because 2 months ago I was sharing a different video of Max. And it was him just recognizing letters before. I think it was even before he was 2, actually.
Okay,
Or maybe-
here I found one. I don't know if it's the one,
Uh-huh.
but let me share this one. Okay, ready?
Ready.
Where's equals? Where's plus? Where is minus? Minus? What's that one? Where is 14? Where is 10? Where is 15? Where is 3? Where is 11?
Right. Okay. I think we get the point.
Ah,
Yeah.
Right. So that was 22 months.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's just the numbers, obviously. At that point, he had already mastered all the letters upper and lowercase. Remember that video that you made with him when you visited us, right?
Yeah.
I think that was around 24 months or something. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So point is, I just wanted to show that. Okay. So now here's one from Wendy. Okay. And she originally got TechnoTutor just as a client wanting to use it for her future child. And she wasn't even, I don't even think she was pregnant. At
She
the
was
time.
not pregnant yet.
Yeah, I think she got it from you, right?
Yeah.
So it was just like, because she'd been following Katie and seeing what she was talking about and doing everything. And we had known her for many years, not like in a really intimate way, but just like we had done a seminar and we were in the same seminar class like many, many years ago. So we were a part of that little small group and she's remembered us and we were friends on Facebook, right? Or she was at least friends with Katie. So here's her son Atticus at 26 months. Okay.
It. Me. Bye. Hi. Huh?
What's that one?
Bye. Huh?
What's that one?
Huh? No.
That's right. No.
No. Or ice. Cat.
Right.
Dude. So I just
So
want
what grade level he's supposed to be reading at?
right. Right. So to me, this is just like I've been sharing with people like, okay, look, what we're doing is systematic. There's no guesswork involved. Like, because I was talking with a parent the other day, and I was like, hey, your kids are pretty intelligent for their ages, you know, compared to a lot of other kids. And she was like, yeah, fingers crossed that continues on with their education. I was like, well, hang on.
Dude, the hope point?
Yeah, you
Not
don't,
the uncertainty. No.
right. It's like, you don't have to do the fingers crossed thing because we have a way that it's systematic if you want to see it. And we're able to do this. And it's so funny because, okay, with Max, it was literally, I made that video with him recognizing the letters at 24 months, right? And then it was 2 months later, he's reading those words, right? And then it wasn't too long after that before he was reading the Dick and Jane books, right? And then now with Atticus,
And ones that we had not read to him.
right. Now with Atticus, it's the same thing where it's like, okay, 2 months later, he's already able to recognize those words, right? Just, you already know what's going to happen. I made predictions then. You already know what's going to happen. And it's like, okay, so it's obviously it's systematic. It's like, you do this, this is going to be the result, right? You get started like now. If you haven't already, get started now. I don't care if you don't have kids, right? Exactly. It's gravity.
Okay. Oh, so here's my point though, right?
Go ahead.
That point about Biden, he's just the reflection of where we're all at in our state of education, like in our country. Like everybody is just decrepit and senile and cognitively not there. That's the collective point of our country and the world, really, because if you think about it, isn't America the leader of the world?
Yeah.
Right. So people can dispute that, but it's not a dispute. Like it's doesn't really matter what anybody says. Like it's a fact, right?
Cam, did you just eat your phone?
Yeah.
Mitchell, is your mind blown yet? He just ate his phone.
Right. But my point about blowing your mind was just the point of seeing like, okay, look at the reading levels in our world. Now, okay, here's the next point. Everybody going like, oh, Biden, like, can you believe this idiot and so forth? It's like, look at your fucking country. Like, look at your country and the fact that everybody is a fucking idiot and all the children are idiots. And then you want to just pretend like the problem is because there's a senile idiot in charge. Well, okay, so we have a nation of geniuses and everybody's independent entrepreneurs doing great because of themselves. And we have this idiot. If it just wasn't for this idiot senile old man. Think of all the fucking apparatus in every state election wise. Again, whether you believe it was legit or not, let's assume it was legit. All of that had to coordinate and work together to get that guy elected.
Yeah. It's funny to think about. I was asking someone yesterday, like, hey, do you remember how many votes? That same guy, I was asking him, do you remember how many votes Obama got in his prime? And they're like, I don't know, 13 million. I was like, 13 million? No, that's not right. Looked it up.
I'm going to guess like 70, 60.
69 million. 69 million.
That was the most Obama got.
That was the most Obama.
And Joe Biden got like what, 81 or something?
81. And I was like, and I asked them, I was like, can you believe that? They're like, Fuck no.
Let's say it's true.
Right.
Okay,
Right,
okay, okay.
81
Do you
million
guys
people
think it
voted for
was
him.
only 40 million? Like,
That's
do you
what-
think 40 million were faked?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. There you
I mean,
go.
it's like it's so were there even 10 million real ones? Like, I'm not saying there weren't. The fact that there would be even some percentage of those that are real, what does that say about our country? What does that say about the people?
Right.
And then we want to complain. Like, again, it's like with the transgender thing, right? Blame the schools. If these idiot teachers weren't teaching our kids, okay, where did these teachers come from? Didn't they come from school? Didn't they spend their whole life in school to become a teacher?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're like, well, but that's because, in the higher education system, they've infiltrated with all this critical race theory and gender stuff, all that's like, okay, so you disagree with the education system. You think it's fucked and it's corrupt. You think it's fucked and it's corrupt. And yet you have your kids in school.
Right.
And do you think it's any different at a private school?
Right.
Like I think it's the most expensive school in the country, private school. They had this big thing with like
In
trans
Florida?
and all this. Was it a Florida thing?
I don't think the Florida school is the most expensive private school in the country. Although it's pretty high up there. It's almost 50,000.
Was that where the
50,000 a
thing
year.
was?
It's almost 50,000 a year. Yeah. There's are you talking about the Patrick Bet David thing? Because I think that was just like they wanted them to write and take the position that trans is best or whatever, and the student
I
wrote.
just remember what it was. Was it a
It's-
Florida one?
There was a Florida school in South Florida. It's about 50,000.
And the
a year.
position that trans is best.
Yeah, like why trans is a good thing or whatever. And this student was like, oh, I don't believe that. And they wrote, trans is not
Okay,
best
yeah.
and all the reasons why. And they got an
Trans
F
is
on the
best,
assignment.
and we will have a complete population collapse by the next generation. Got it.
Right.
Now, what happens though is like then the child writes that, they get a bad grade, they complain, and then the school board starts attack. I mean, I don't know about in this particular case, but the common pattern is
Yeah.
they start attacking anybody who's like, hey, this isn't right. Like, come on, like, no. And
Right.
then it's like this, it becomes even more, it's like a doubling down of like, no, this is it. And I can't believe I just feel like there was some other thing I was thinking of. I can't remember what it was though. But another cool point is that whole story with like Riley Gaines and not Riley Gaines, but Leah Thomas, the
Yeah.
transgender Olympic or college swimmer and all that stuff. Similar point
Yeah.
where it's like the whole apparatus of the administration comes down on the people who are like, no, I don't agree.
Are they allowing trans athletes in the Olympics now? That would be hilarious.
That's probably next.
That would be hilarious.
Well, okay, but here's the question. I mean, I don't know when's the next Summer Olympics?
It's
I don't know.
what year is it now?
Is it
Oh, it's
2024?
next year. It's next year. Should be next year.
Okay. What do you guys predict? What do you think?
If they will allow trans athletes in the Olympics. gonna
My
say no.
prediction is that they're not going to allow it, but it's going to start to come into it's going to start entering the.
My prediction is
Collective
definitely
discourse.
not this Olympics. Definitely not is my prediction.
Mhm. Yeah, I think there's too much riding on it already because they know there's going to be a ton of backlash.
Speaking of riots, did you hear apparently
Wait,
There's-
hold on. There's already
no in the Olympics? Oh, Caitlyn Jenner.
I'm looking it up. The participation of New Zealand's trans athlete Laurel Hubbard in the weightlifting competition in Tokyo 2020 was controversial.
Well,
Um,
So
I guess it's only women's weightlifting, who watches that? Watch it be
okay.
like soccer though.
Alana Smith, a non-binary skateboarder, represented the United States in the women's skateboarding. Yeah, but that's not like.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm talking like buff man.
But it
You know,
sounds like
like,
they're
out-
already in a point of
Yeah.
Holy
basically
shit.
allowing it, right?
I was off. I was wrong. I was
So
Yeah,
my
plot twist
point,
had
my
already
thinking was
happened.
just like, how can they not allow it at this point?
Well,
Right.
I thought these other countries would be like, well, that's retarded. We're not. That's not fair.
Like, okay, what if the entire men's Olympic basketball team just identified as women and then
Yeah.
the women's team?
It just dunked on the women.
Or okay. All the people who were like, okay, you have, I don't know how many people are on the basketball team in total, right? Well, do you know like roughly how many people are on a
Probably
basketball
like-
team?
11
Is that it?
Really?
for I don't know.
Because there's like
You said
five
that
on
with
the
a lot of
court, right?
confidence, Drake.
There's 5 on the court.
Probably like 15.
Okay,
Probably
something like
15,
that, right? I mean,
probably
because it's not
15.
like a huge amount, like football or something, but it's not.
Let me
That
see.
sounds about right.
Yeah.
But I mean, don't they have probably reserves that don't even sit on the court? Maybe let's just say it's 20, 30 people. I don't know.
12 players. Boom. I was
Total.
fucking close.
Total on the team. Wow.
Dude,
Okay,
dude,
So
listen.
now
listen.
imagine the 12.
Hold on.
okay,
Hang on. Let me gloat a little bit. Okay. This guy said 15. We're playing by Price's Right rules, right? I had 11. That is just
Isn't it? No one would be right then? Because don't
No.
you have to go below it?
yeah. I said 11, and the answer was 12. Like,
Oh shit.
boom. So you're out of here. Boom.
But you're black, so you should know. So you get deducted like 10 points.
Yeah,
Mitch
handicap.
gets a handicap. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
white
he's like
privilege.
3
White
under
privilege is
par.
becoming cool again, Drake. We're that progressive.
No, it's
First
not
of
white
all-
privilege. It's a handicap. You have a disability. You're a white racist person. It is a mental disability.
Listen,
Mm.
you just called me black, and that was really racist. So I needed like 10 more
No, dude,
points.
how is that racist? Like that's empowering. Like I'm proud of you for being black. Like you're amazing for black.
Yeah, I'm trying to identify as
you
black.
keep
but-
saying it.
You're so powerful.
You keep saying it, and it's really oppressing me, and I don't feel safe anymore. This is not a safe space for me, and I'm going to need you guys to just like put your hands down. Everybody, put your hands down, sir.
I thought it was hands up.
No,
Yeah.
hands up, don't shoot, but you put your hands down, please.
I can shoot
But
for
that way we can be shot, Drake.
Yes.
Trying to commit violence against us.
Yeah, trying to commit something. Yeah. No, okay.
What were
So
we talking about though?
basketball
12 people
team.
on the team.
had
So they
12.
should replace
but my
all the
point was,
women
okay,
with
so
men.
it's 12 people, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But imagine the second 12 guys who like couldn't qualify for the team. But I'm sure there's 12 people that tried to qualify for the Olympic team, right? So what if they just took those 12 guys and they just made them the women's team?
They should do this.
So don't take the best because you still want the men's team to win, right?
We could write them a letter. I'll take notes.
So
on
just
that.
like the second, cut the second place guys, put
Hmm.
them on the women's team and just make them trans. Like it would dominate, man.
Yeah, is it just you have to like how do you declare that you're trans? Like this Leah Thomas, where they just like, I am a woman, and you just declare once, do you have to like sign paperwork?
If you are a Republican and you say you're trans, then you are being sarcastic. If you are not, then you are being real.
Just by saying it.
Yes. Yeah, that's what they say, right? You just say like, how do you know someone's a woman? Well, they say they are. They identify as it. That's the fucking rules. But then if you're saying it, but you also stand for like, I mean, I'm not a Republican, but like if you're a Republican basically, or a conservative type or whatever, or a Christian or something like.
Wait, didn't Matt Walsh try and
But there are probably
identify
Christian
something?
trans people, right? So it's like it's
Mhm.
so fucked, right?
Yeah, that's hilarious. But okay, but that just proves the point of like there's a monoculture going on.
It's like you're not being genuine about being trans. It's like, how do you know?
Right.
It's like, well, what is a woman? It's whoever identifies as one. What is a man? Whoever identifies as one. So can a woman be a man?
Duh. They identified it.
Like, how do you answer that question? Can a woman be a man? Would they have to say yes or no?
Depends. How did they identify us?
But can a woman be a man?
How did they identify?
Right. No, but can a woman be a man?
I don't know. What do they identify as?
Can a woman identify as a man?
Then she would be a man. So she wouldn't be a woman anymore.
But what
Okay.
can she also identify as a woman?
Then she'd be a woman.
Can a woman identify as a man?
We call those two-spirit. That's it.
Isn't this funny? Because then people will get more worked up and focused on that
Right.
than
That's all
Actually
the war
doing
for
it.
the mind.
Yeah.
It's
So-
like, okay, you're either mentally fucking deranged thinking you're trans, or you're someone who just thinks it's all mentally deranged. But either way,
right.
like,
And then if you get past that, then it's like the Ocean Gate submarine. Then if you get past that, then it's like the Ukrainian war. And then
And if you get
at
past
point-
that, Hunter Biden. And if you
Right,
get past
right.
that, yeah.
right. And
Hey.
then finally you
Mitch-
achieve enlightenment.
Mitch, you shared something with me the other day, and it was like really relevant to the point that Cam was bringing up earlier about, we can't be mad at these people for getting stuck where they are, right? We can't be mad at them,
Mhm.
because then that's like basically going into a point of blame, because they're blaming the government or whatever, like why they can't have their freedoms, or and then that causes the revolution, right? But not the revolution in a way that's best, but a revolution as in like just rioting, fighting, all those sorts of things, right? But us being upset that they're not getting it is we've talked about this with Avery as well. It's a shortcoming of our expression or our ability to convey that message to them, right? Because otherwise it's just, typically what happens here is like, oh, they're so dumb. That's just going into blame. Right.
Right. So it's like, one, it's the shortcoming, but it's also because the blame is occurring as well. So which one can you solve easily?
The blame.
Yeah, you just forgive it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's it. But if you're not building your vocabulary effectively, you won't be able to see that you're blaming.
Right.
Because you'll just be it.
Right.
And that's the point about the mind being integrated with the being. Right. That's my perspective, is like, you're just it.
Yeah.
And until you can speed up yourself and your processing ability, you're not going to see that it's you, and you'll just think it's you. Even though I know I'm saying your mind is integrated with you. My point with that was that it's not some entity separate that's in control of you, actually.
Well, my point was just
Same with the government, actually. It's just the reflection of all of us. It will change when we change.
yeah,
But if we go, no, it has to change first,
right.
how is that going to happen?
That's just blame.
It literally can't work that way.
Right.
We have to change first. The inner has to change for the outer to be the reflection of that.
Right. And so it's interesting because it really is just the point of blame that would stop us on any level, anybody in this community. I mean, when I say us, right, like it would stop us.
Oh, not just you. I
No.
thought it was like your new pronoun or something.
Well, you know how they're going by they, them. I'm going by us, we, us,
Yes.
we, us, we the best, and
We the best music. That's my pronouns.
that's
We the
it.
best music.
Right. That's it.
Be the best overall.
When DJ Khaled was saying that, he was actually talking about me. Anyway,
Me. And now you're changing it again.
we, me, and us. Yeah, we must. Oh, I like that. We must. That's it. That's my new pronoun.
We must?
We must. Yeah.
What do you mean must?
we.
I think
must.
that's one of Elon's kids, Wee Musk.
We-
Yeah.
Huh.
But yeah, whenever what would stop us from sharing effectively is blame. That's really ultimately what I see, because otherwise, when we stop the blame, then we can actually examine what are the shortcomings and change those. But if we just go into blame, then it justifies why it is this way, and then I don't have to change, and all those sorts of things, like
Because if you blame, then you're not what?
taking responsibility.
You're not responsible.
Right.
According to the logic of blame.
And it's this.
So we blame the system.
or
It's
you
like
blame
it's so powerful.
you blame your
therefore
spouse.
It's
you
fault. Yeah.
you blame like all these different things. Oh, like there was the way that I was raised and all this. Like, okay, those have influence, but again,
Yeah.
freedom is not like
Right. But it's not a mental solution. It's a do the process.
yeah,
Because you can't convince somebody to change the point. You can only support them to see why they have to do the process to change the point.
Yes. And
That's
oh,
why we've said from the beginning, our podcast is not for the public
right.
per se. It's more like to stimulate interest in what we're talking about so that you'll investigate, okay, let me do this.
Yeah. There's a huge
It's not
point-
like you listen to this, you learn stuff, and then now you're changed. Like that's not how it works.
That's not how anything works. That's not how anything works. I like at the end of
I mean, that's literally like thinking if I get the Michael Jordans, then I can play like
listen, when I was fucking four,
whoever. Who's
when
Michael
I was-
Jordan's named after?
um
One of those guys. I forget.
LeBron James. No.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't sound right. Anyway, I remember
James. Yeah.
James LeBron.
I was trying to think of the name of that guy from King of Queens. Isn't it Kevin James or something? Or
Kevin James, yeah.
You
Yeah.
watch King of Queens?
no. I just remember a lot of shit.
You didn't watch King of Queens?
No,
One of my
fuck do you
favorite-
think I was doing with
one
my
of my-
life?
One of my favorite lines from a movie. You guys ever see 40-Year-Old Virgin?
Yeah.
Actually, no.
There's this scene where they're like in the parking lot and it's like Seth Rogen, I think, talking with I forget who. And I don't remember what they're even talking about. The guy goes, yeah, I'm really observant. That's why I'm a novelist. And he's like some guy who works like Best Buy or whatever. He's like, that's why I'm a novelist. I just thought that was so funny. It's like, I'm really observant. Anyways.
I do not remember that line. You know, the only line I remember from 40-Year-Old Virgin is like bags of sand. Like,
They were like,
yeah.
what? So sand. The fuck?
Yeah.
I just like The Office. That was so funny. I think Steve Carell as
Yeah.
Michael Scott was like one of the funniest things.
I never watched
Yeah.
The Office, but
You
that's-
never watched it?
I mean, I watched the first season when it first came out. Right?
Oh, like seasons like 2 through. Okay, because the way that I look at TV, I'm very efficient with how I approach things. Right.
You have a schedule,
Very
you like
observant.
map it out. Yeah.
So like I know guaranteed if I watch The Office, there's at least 2 times I'm gonna laugh out loud. And so that's usually how I base my decisions on what I'm gonna get.
You're like, I'm gonna get my fix. I need 2 laughs and I'm good.
Basically, because then there's some experimental shows. Jessica will try and be like, hey, we should watch this. And like sometimes they're funny, but then sometimes we're like watching some like CIA, for example, on Netflix, there was some show called The Recruit, where it's this guy who gets recruited into the CIA. And then he gets on all these missions and stuff. And it's actually pretty funny. Like I definitely laughed out loud at least once. But then there's all this added paranoia and stuff to it. It's because like one night I'm going out and doing, because it was like the sun went down. I was like, oh, I have to go do the chicken chores. So I'm like walking out without a flashlight, right? I got my little phone flashlight though.
I think
then-
that was before the podcast.
And we
Yeah,
didn't talk
yeah.
about the okay.
Yeah, we won't talk about that.
That was the pre-party.
Yeah. And then I'm like out there and all of a sudden I'm like looking in the woods. I'm like looking behind my back. I'm like, yo, this never happened when we watched The Office. When I was watching The Office, I was just like happy. This, I'm like paranoid now.
Right. That's it impulses. So then you have to do the forgiveness on that. I mean,
Yeah.
I know you know that. I'm just
Yeah,
saying
well,
for everybody,
yeah.
right?
Breakthroughs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many
But
times where
Office,
we allow
guaranteed.
thoughts, we
Mhm.
allow points, and then we just have to write it out and then do the forgiveness.
Mhm.
Dude,
We don't do that, it accumulates.
you missed it. Someone was
Seriously.
sharing, I'm not gonna say who, but someone was sharing some really awesome stuff on the TT support call that we do after the hangout, the self-perfected hangout, right? And it was so cool because a lot of times what that call is just people sharing like their latest breakthroughs with TT, right? And it's so fun because it's like constantly growing. It's a good time, and it's people who get it, right? And somebody was sharing how they were looking at the word in their TT. They were looking at a word, and it caused them to write pages and pages of all the thoughts that came up
Yeah.
within that word, right? All the memories and everything. And they even like called up their mom, had a long conversation with their mom about it and everything. And they were saying, and this is the really cool part to me. They're saying that when they were writing, they hate writing. They absolutely hate writing. But the pain of holding on to those things and not getting out was worse than the pain of writing.
Yeah.
So they were saying like it was late at night. They wanted to go to sleep. But they're like, I have to get this out, right? And it was also really cool because, man, I want to share this as well. Friday.
Well, before you do, real quick, Mitch, were you eating marshmallows?
Hello?
Were you eating marshmallows?
It's one of
Banana's
those advanced
banana.
marshmallows.
What
It's a
is that?
banana. It's a
The
banana.
banana.
Oh, I thought he was eating marshmallows, man. I don't know why.
It did look like a marshmallow.
I was just concerned, man. I'm like, that's not normal.
Just marshmallows for breakfast.
He was just
That's
like, he was like
what
popping in, and
serving
it was like another one. I'm like, how do you eat them that fast?
Dude, Aristotle's huge. How old is he? Is he 2 now?
is. No, he's 9 months.
26 months.
19.
He
9
looks
months.
he looks 2. He does look 2. He's huge.
I mean, height wise, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Like obviously not the features.
like his
Yeah,
head,
like-
and then his feet go past my waist, like down to my legs. Like this is my thigh.
And for those of you who don't know, Jess is like 8 feet tall.
Accurate.
more like 5'11".
So my height.
I used to be 6 foot, but I lost an inch,
Kicking too much ass.
kicking way too much ass.
No, that's
I was
pretty-
telling him how The Office guarantee makes me laugh out loud twice. So that's why I like watching it. And these other experimental shows
Okay,
are not.
the Black Mirror episode you recommended,
Oh.
Cameron, was not an actual recommendation for anyone who watched that episode. He wasn't serious about it being so awesome.
No, I was serious.
Promise you.
It's my favorite episode. I love that episode.
I'm worried about you.
Concerned.
I get super charged up.
It's funny. I've never watched that episode. I know what it's about, but I've never watched it.
Not good.
It's so
Do
bad.
not recommend.
Mitch is like writing like a novel of self-forgiveness afterwards.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
No, we watched that and then
I
we
forgive
watched
myself
something
for
else.
accepting, allow myself to want to play that
Okay,
game.
so
Oh my gosh.
Aristotle and I were going through a little upgrade last week, and Aristotle was sleeping for like 4 hours straight. And I was like, Mitchell, can we just like watch something while he's sleeping? So we were all in the bed together. Aristotle was sleeping. Mitchell and I had headphones in, and we were just watching things. And we were like, okay, what should we watch? Like, oh, what about the episode Cameron recommended? So we first started with that. And then we were like, okay, we got to finish.
I was like, when is this gonna get good? And then it just ended.
And then
I
it
was
got
like,
good.
"Oh,
And then it got really good.
And then we were like, okay, we started this movie the other day and we were only like a half hour in. Let's finish it. And it was called The Master.
Do not recommend. Fucking
And
horrible.
was it?
what genre would you?
It was like
It was like
kind of a
occult-
drama-ish.
occult drama.
Okay, it's like this guy, Philip Seymour Hoffman, is apparently some like cult leader. And then this other guy,
Is
Joaquin Phoenix, I think, is the actor, and he's like going crazy and he's like losing his mind, and he's like an alcoholic from the war, and then he like stumbles across the cult, and this guy's like really charismatic, and it reminded me of like kind of like Scientology vibes.
Wing. He's inspired by the drunk. He's like, wow, I have this new spite of.
And the whole time they're just like getting
inspiration.
drunk.
And he's like trying to help him get better, but he doesn't necessarily want to get better. He just likes the attention and like being a part of a group. And by the end, all that happens is like he
Wait,
says,
Yeah, we're gonna spoil it for
oh,
everyone.
for sure. Nobody needs to watch
Don't
the
watch
movie.
it.
He's just like, you either stay with us and commit to getting better, or you leave and you never come back. Because he'd like come off and on and, like kind of be in and out. And that's how it ended. And it was not good. It was so drawn out, and the music, the eerie music the whole time, and the weird videography. It was just like, I am disappointed that I watched this movie.
That was the climax. It's just like you either stay and get better,
Yes.
or you leave and never come
So,
back.
so if you have to choose between that versus the Black Mirror episode,
Okay.
Neither.
clearly the Black Mirror episode.
There is
But
no
also for
choice.
anybody
I
who's
would pick
triggered
the
by any
Black
of that,
Mirror episode simply because it took less time. It was shorter.
dance you guys are doing like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
Jess makes this thing. It's called Holy Toast because it's so holy.
Okay,
No,
no,
she
I
puts
just
a hole in
I
it.
cut out the center of
Oh
the
yeah.
piece of bread, and I put a bunch of butter on the pan, and then I put the bread on the pan, and then I crack an egg in the center, And then you, as you flip it, you put more butter on the pan. So it's like
Okay.
souped up with the butter and it's so good.
Show your skills.
Yeah, someone was watching V for Vendetta.
That is where I got the recipe.
See?
Okay.
No, that's awesome.
Okay.
Oh, do they do that in there?
High five.
Yeah, V makes that for what's that girl's name? Natalie Portman.
I haven't
Yeah.
watched that movie in a long
He
time.
makes it for her to try and make her feel better.
He makes it for her a couple of times, I'm pretty sure.
What's the
but-
significance of that? It's weird.
It's holy bread. Mhm.
It tastes good. It's comfort food. And he was trying to get her to be comfortable staying with him.
Kind of like Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Wow.
Mitch, I need your movie recommendations, just a whole list of them. 'Cause
Let's
I
just
only...
spend the next few minutes before we end.
Okay,
like,
Century
talk-
of the South.
Zeitgeist.
No,
Oh,
not right
Jesus,
now.
guys.
Just give me your list. I've watched all this. I need movies.
I don't think I have
Okay,
any
hold on.
movies I really
Let's just
like.
cut to the chase, guys. Stop all of that. Brazil.
I've already watched it, and I
I fell asleep during that, so I don't
Just
know.
go watch it at 2 a.m.
no.
OM,
Okay,
OM.
listen.
Okay.
If you watch it,
I like
again, you'll be
300.
Holy shit, dude! Cameron was right. Fuck.
Growing up,
There are a lot of
Growing up,
movies
It's
I
weird
now.
at the end. It
Listen,
does
there
get
are
weird at the end.
a lot of movies now that I watch, and I'm like, Cameron was right. It's like-
okay,
like
growing
Brazil-
up,
yeah.
I liked The Goonies
Okay,
and
classic.
Napoleon Dynamite
Okay.
and the Star Wars,
Growing
the Lord of the
up, wow.
Rings.
Growing up, she says.
Lord of the Rings is good, and 300 is good.
I fell asleep to Lord of the Rings.
I liked
Hey.
Gladiator. I watched a bunch of stuff that was inappropriate for kids. So Gladiator for sure
RoboCop.
growing up.
RoboCop.
And
the original.
I'm just kidding. I've never seen it, but I
Ooh,
know you
guys,
saw it.
don't.
um,
RoboCop and Terminator.
Oh yeah.
I've never seen Terminator either.
Oh
Wow.
man.
Wow.
Sounds like the original Black Mirror.
He is so big. That child is a giant.
Hey,
Hey,
in-
giant.
can you tell me if I'm misremembering this, but in Brazil, wasn't like at the end she was like, oh he was a bird. I was thinking she was like a bird, but he was like he had those wings and stuff.
I
and
kept
stuff.
seeing that scene where he's
Oh, yeah.
flying through the sky.
Yeah. I was trying to think because I was thinking it was her, and I was like, that's kind of like Otherland, but I was just mixing it up.
wow,
Wow.
this
He's
is
really big.
this is what it's like.
Heavy.
feeling like I have some kind of AI screen behind me with this black backdrop. It's like you can't see where it starts or where it ends.
You're pretending like you've never been on the podcast before.
No, this background.
Yeah, for sure you have.
I know with this background, but it still gets me every time I get behind it or in front of it or whatever you'd say.
Yeah.
Behind this camera, in front of this background.
I wanted to share before we end. I wanted to shout out Austin because he
Birthday boy.
Yeah, well, yeah.
30.
Oh yeah. Oh, nice.
He is.
I didn't know that.
Why did Gen Z people act like they're always having a seizure when they talk?
Because there was too much TikTok.
I
was like they're throwing up.
Oh yeah, I was like, am I Gen Z? Yes, he's calling me out right now.
You're definitely Gen Z.
Yeah.
Zoomer.
But no, I wasn't shouting him out for his birthday. I was shouting him out because he led the hangout on Friday, and he did a great job.
Yeah.
And we talked about
Definitely.
expression, and I think everybody should go and listen to that hangout. It's in the Self-Perfected group. That's the only place that you can listen to those. But he did a really great job talking about expression and what that actually means. And that led to some really amazing conversations with people afterwards as well. And,
Yep.
Ultimately we need to be effective at expressing ourselves and not just, and I think this ties in really nicely with everything else that we were talking about today, not just allowing the mind to control us, right? Because when you allow the mind to control you, you're not actually expressing you as the being. You're just participating in a program in the mind and doing what basically you're just living off of your
But
fear.
how
Like,
do you do that? Do you do it by declaring independence? Like, like in the
I
episode of The
declare
Office, right?
bankruptcy.
Yeah, right. Is
That
that
scene
how
was
you-
so funny.
But is that how you do it? You just declare your independence from the mind?
It's like you declare that you're transgender.
I
Or hold on. is it a process? And you have to go in the deep end.
No, I am declaring
Hold on. You go in the deep end.
independent.
Hey.
In the deep
Okay,
end.
boomer.
That was some spoken word shit.
He's a millennial.
are you
first
a
of
We're gonna
all.
do one episode. We need to.
I'm definitely not a boomer.
He's a millennial. The next
No, he's not
next
millennial.
I know you're not
generation
a-
Are you Gen X?
is Gen X.
Gen X.
No, you're Gen Alpha.
I'm Gen
That's
Y,
your
actually.
child.
You know,
Your
millennial
child
is
is
Gen
Gen
Y.
Alpha. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
think he is Alpha actually.
Yes.
Yeah. No, but what I was saying is yes, it's something about independence. Before that, I'm going to write my declaration of independence from the mind. That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Nice.
You need to write your declaration of independence from the mind. And it's not just
Yeah.
writing like I
But
declare.
it's writing yourself to freedom every day.
But that's
Right.
what
Yeah.
expression is. That's what expression is. Right? You're
Right, and it's
expressing
not just a one-time thing.
right.
It's ongoing.
You're expressing the secret mind that you have within you, and you're expressing it like expelling it out of you. Right?
Yeah, and what's cool is as you walk this process more and more, you'll see the practical application of that process in a moment by moment basis, where it's like in a moment you see it and you address it out loud to yourself instead of waiting, like writing it down as a note, like, oh, I'll write about this later, or like requiring that you have a certain document on your computer open in order to do the process. You'll realize, no, it's something you can apply all the time. And you can address any point. Like
Okay,
the other day
Hold
we
on.
were,
Yes, but just real quick, but I'm just being clear for everybody listening. Don't use that as a reason not to do the writing part.
totally,
Okay.
yes.
And I'm saying that because you won't see everything in the moment. So
Mhm.
I agree with you. Like you need to do it also in the moment.
Yes.
So you're not like letting it accumulate. Like, oh, I'll write about it later. Because so either way can be used as an excuse. It's yeah. I just wanna
Both.
clarify.
Yeah, it's both, definitely. Because writing it out holds a different point than speaking it out loud in a moment. You're able to dissect and sometimes get even deeper because you're mapping it out. I call it mind mapping. And you pair that with your techno tutor and boom, it's the best. Anyways, what was I going to say?
Like the holy toast of self-improvement.
Exactly. We were on our way back from event that we went to just here in the city. So it was like roughly a 30-minute drive. And I had this memory pop up of when I was driving solo, pregnant, from downtown Minneapolis to where we live, which is roughly 40 minutes down an interstate. And I got off an interstate on an exit into a neighborhood to get gas because I realized that I should have got gas before I went into the city at all. And I didn't want to get gas downtown. So I took one of the first exits out of downtown and I should have waited even further, but I didn't know if I could make it even further because I was running out of gas. And in short, it was not the kind of neighborhood that I should have stopped at with my Porsche alone in this gas station. And I start getting out and like 3 men start approaching my vehicle. And I'm like, oh, not getting gas. Got back in my car, shut the door and just left. And I had that memory pop up, but it wasn't from just like a neutral standpoint. It was like a fear. Like, because we were kind of going by the same neighborhood and that memory popped up and it was like a big fear that came up. And I was like, whoa, I definitely have not processed that situation. And in that moment, it was great because I brought it up out loud. I was like, this memory just came up. And Mitch was like, let's forgive the fear. And so I was like, that's a great idea. So in that moment, I spoke self-forgiveness out loud. And I was just realizing how I was separating myself from everything going on in that situation. Like if I was in their shoes, like I wouldn't be doing what they were doing, like thinking like I was greater than, even though like, no, if I realistically were in their exact same shoes, I would be doing the exact same thing. And it's something that we have to address gradually through this process of exposure and then realizing that that still is happening. And you can't just in a moment say that shouldn't exist because it still does. And so you have to take that into account and realize like you can be smart about how you navigate this reality as we're in the process of making it best for all, like getting gas before you go into the city, like something, and it seems so obvious now, but before I didn't even think about it. So
it's like using common sense, but then not using the fact that it's the reality to justify why you should keep the fear.
exactly.
Because you're like, oh, you have to have fear. And it's like, no, dude, like fear is just energy. It's just the mind trying to take you over. You don't need it, but also you don't need to be unnecessarily putting yourself in that situation. You don't have
And
to do
what's
that based on
cool,
fear.
what's cool is I had this realization that I had a rule in my mind that if something like that happened, I had to have a reaction, or I was just as bad as the people doing the thing because I wasn't reacting to it happening. It was just like this rule I had in my mind. And I was like, that's crazy. Like that doesn't, like
Because-
it obviously
because-
doesn't make any sense, but
Because then like you're letting it happen.
Yeah,
You don't have a reaction.
because I'm not
Yeah.
reacting to it. Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And so that, and all I realized all those different points simply because when that memory came up, I was willing to express it and to discover it and pick it apart and forgive it in that moment and not just keep it. Like I could have easily just been like, oh yeah, that one memory, and then just moved on. But
Right.
instead I like,
But
was
it would
doing
be a thing
self-forgiveness
that
out
grows
loud on
inside
it.
of you, right?
Hmm?
When you hold on to it, it grows inside of you. So it comes out
Totally.
later worse. And,
Yes.
you know, that point you made about having to react to it, I was like, that's the same thing with like, when we're talking about like Biden, or people will react to like the war in Ukraine or whatever. It's like, oh, I
Yeah.
have to react to it. So
Parent-
you're not doing anything to change. You're just participating in a reaction, which allows the thing to continue. Because if you just participate in the reactions of, well, I'm just not going to show up at that gas station or whatever, it doesn't change the situation as to why there's people who have no money who turn to crime and so forth.
Mhm.
Parents do the same thing to their kids all the time. They're reacting to their kids like, oh, if I don't take this tone and you know
Yes.
react, then
If I don't
they're
spank
just-
them,
yeah,
if I
they're
don't
going to
yell at
continue
them.
doing it. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, maybe what the child's doing isn't best, but that doesn't mean you have to react to it.
Mhm.
You know, you could very easily direct the point. You can, you know, like that's taking responsibility, right? Because otherwise it's like, then you're just perpetuating, you're creating the same environment, and then they're going to do it to their kids. And it's like, again, that's part of, I feel like that's again, part of those assumptions that people make of just like, I just assume this is how it works, where you have to react because I saw my parents do it. I saw other people even say, you know, if you don't correct it, then it's going to get out of hand. So this must be the answer. It's like,
It's funny because the reaction is what they're looking for deep down anyways. So it's just reinforcing the behavior.
Because
And-
that's the energy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So-
It's an energy game, but then they think that, okay, then I have to take an even more extreme reaction
Right.
until it's so extreme that they'll never do it again. But then that's just a trauma.
Right.
That's not effectively communicating why it may not be the best expression for the child to take.
Right.
hey, great podcast. Is there anything else you wanted to share?
I just was gonna say hi, and then Mitchell took Aristotle and was like, okay, I'll take a seat. I'll take a seat.
Yeah, I mean, it's like this point of independence is, instead of looking at, it's funny because we're celebrating our independence, but independence from what?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like the
something
most
that
false
happened in the
independence
past.
ever.
And it's like, is anyone actually satisfied with, like those who are in the US, like, is anyone actually satisfied with where things are at?
No.
Mhm.
So just holding on to the image of the past doesn't mean we should be like, oh, it's terrible or something like that. It's just, it's like, I just want a holiday.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's like, you're just, yeah, independence. Yeah, it's just a reason to celebrate.
Midsummer.
But you're not actually
Definitely.
looking at what it's like the point with Christmas. You're not actually looking at what you're celebrating and what you're participating in. And so, because I was thinking about that song, you guys ever hear that one where it's like, I'm proud to be an American. And then it's like that point where he says,
free.
what do you say?
Men
Hello,
who died,
good-
Yeah.
give this right to me.
And I proudly stand up next to you and remember still today.
Ooh.
Okay, I proudly stand up next to you. Remember them, the men who died, all that. And it's like, isn't it literally just a song that's justifying war?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And like saying like I remember all those people that fought for my freedom, and the people who are fighting in the military right now, they're fighting for our freedom, and it's like, are they? So like, what the hell are we actually celebrating? Again, I'm not saying don't celebrate 4th of July, like feel bad about it or something like that. It's just, let's look at actual independence. Are we actually free within here? Or are we constantly being influenced by our mind, which is not separate from us, but wasn't directly programmed only by us? It was programmed in when we were in a state of not even knowing what was happening.
Mhm.
So the whole process that we're talking about is the process of going through that and taking responsibility for it. So you actually can develop, it's not really independence, it's absolute individuality. It's you standing as an individual, equal and one to everyone else and to life. And so that's where we're free, is within us being life and knowing that we are and realizing that, rather than the pictures and the stories and the images and the beliefs and all that stuff, which is really just keeping you, it's like in a little assembly line
Definitely.
where you're not free at all. You're really not, because if you were free, if everybody was actually free in our country, just in the States I'm speaking for, would there be war? Would we ever be in war?
No.
Like, would there be like fucking vaccine mandates?
No.
Like any of that shit? You know, would there be all these fucking forever chemicals and everything?
It's crazy, like the vaccine mandates point, just to express that, because like some people will argue, well, the mandate is what creates the freedom and the independence, because you can do whatever you want because we have the mandate. And
That's a
I've-
fucked up.
definitely, but I've been listening to these books on Audible about vaccines in general and their history, and it brings up a really good point of, you know, how well, so it compares all of the different vaccine mandates here in the United States to all the things that they were doing, like the Nazi scientists during World War II, and how literally we have done worse things through all the different vaccine mandates and all the different injuries, and like collectively, numerically, if you look at the statistics, how many
Totally.
people have been affected by it, it's like drastically worse.
But it's okay because it's spread out over time.
Yeah, and there's
You do it all at once. No.
yeah, but there's states that at one point literally had laws that they could kill children if they didn't find them to be like effective, like if they had like Down syndrome or something, like something where like they wouldn't be a contributing member of society. And then young adults, they could sterilize because they didn't want to replicate those genes. So if you weren't like healthy enough, they'd say, okay, you can't have kids, so we're going to sterilize you. Like those were laws in place at one point in this country, you guys.
Now they're just sterilizing kids.
Yeah, exactly. But now it's like an emotional
in the name
point.
of personal freedom and choice.
Right, exactly. And it's so backwards. And so it's like people have to realize they have been programmed to think a certain way about what freedom means. And it's the same thing with all their preferences and their choices. Like, why do you think that you like McDonald's? Nobody actually would like McDonald's if it was just objectively what it is.
There's literally no one on the planet who would actually like it.
Yes, it's absolutely disgusting. But you've been programmed from a very young age to like McDonald's. It's very strategic, down to the song, the symbol of the big golden arches. Everything is a science to program you to eat their food. So realize that's the kind of independence that we are discussing on this call, which is super cool. I like that we brought that full circle, is the independence from all the programming that you have had from a very young age, so that you can stand as yourself and you can reprogram your mind to be actually in alignment with what is here in physical reality and not what everything was projected on you to believe and to buy and to feel a certain way, that, you know, you're not even the same gender that your DNA says you are. Like, that's obviously all in your mind. That's not a physical reality. So let's all get physical. Let's reprogram ourselves through the tools in this group.
Let's get physical. Do you guys remember that song?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm surprised Jessica does. It's a little ahead of
Yeah,
your time.
it's not Yeet or Ice Spice. Maybe
Yeah.
they're gonna do an Ice Spice remix of Physical.
Okay, it's so I don't know any of the artists from my like that my generation average the average person in my generation knows. Like I don't know any of those
Yeah,
artists.
I know if I look at your Spotify, you got Yeet on
No, definitely
your
not.
favorites.
Mhm.
Definitely not.
It's okay.
You
Well,
would,
everybody,
you would be very
let's-
disappointed with my Spotify.
Let's
You're
Yeet
like all
over.
of this is from the the 2000s, and
Like listening to like Incubus or something like
no, really alt,
Blink 182,
and
What are you
not
listening to?
even like
Spice
even more
Girls?
alternative than Blink 182.
Ice Spice Girls.
Spice Girls. That's it.
No,
That's the alternative.
No, that's not even that's mainstream alternative.
No,
I'm
that's very
talking like
alternative.
underground
The
alternative.
first time I heard Ice Spice, I thought it was a Starbucks thing. I really thought it was a new Starbucks.
Also, there's a pretty good amount of metal, but metal was more just like an emotional point and not an like I wasn't like super focused on the name of the artist and stuff. I'd just play it when I'd like associate with that kind of music.
Like, yeah.
And the different kinds of, because there's like obviously drastically different kinds of metal if you actually get into it. But yeah, so you would be very disappointed if you saw my Spotify.
Any 100 gex?
Yeah. No, what? Come
Okay.
on.
Okay, yeah, I'm disappointed.
I am disappointed too.
Yeah,
I've got,
and
I've got
and
100 gags on mine.
And then you look at my playlist that I made based on the years that I made them. And like the ones that I had in college, you could tell that that's when I started smoking weed and drinking, because based on my music and the kind of people I hung out with. And so it's like you can see my phases of mental illness throughout my life based on my Spotify playlist.
That's
It's
a pretty
hilarious.
accurate. That actually is a pretty accurate point.
That's why they have those AI DJs from Spotify.
Yeah, the AI DJ. Oh, he's
He's like-
killer. He brings me back through all the phases.
I
He's
know.
like, you haven't been depressed in a while.
Yeah.
Maybe impulsive.
Exactly.
You know, I noticed I was reading your brain scans and through your Neuralink, and you haven't been angry in a little bit. Shall I play something?
Yes. How would you like some
Yeah.
Tool or some? What are the other?
Dude, I
ones?
used to have this nightmare when I was a kid. I remember it was like, you remember that claymation video? It was
Yeah.
like it was a really popular Tool video.
I do not like claymation, by the way. It's
Oh,
very frustrating
that's a
to
whole other
watch.
thing. I grew up watching Gumby, so I'm totally down with.
Yeah. Same. Same.
It's very hard to watch.
All right.
Uh,
Well, we can only ramble for so much longer. Let's
Well-
just yeet over the independence.
All right. You,
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't know what that means either, but we should definitely quantum leap this independence thing.
Basically, when I say yeet, think quantum leap.
There you
That's,
go.
that's what I'm thinking.
That's
Yeah.
great.
it.
That's a
it.
great redefinition of that word.
Yes.
I'm
All right,
down for
so
that.
that's it. We'll see you guys next week.
Happy 4th of July.
Bye.